Our little pre-show. Hey everybody, it's Adam Freeman. I am calling you like I was going to give you a location. I'm calling you from Long Island, New York, where I work at Prana Direct Market Solutions, and this is Comic Industry Insiders Live, a weekly podcast, a weekly live show. Man, I don't know what's going on with me today. Where we talk about the news, the headlines, the things that are happening in the comics industry, and we talk to the people behind the scenes of the industry. So this is our pre-show banter section where we're bringing in our favorite folks from behind the scenes. Most of them won't be on the rest of the show, but I work with them every single day. So first up, I'm going to go clockwise from myself. We have our very own producer, Kyle. Kyle here is on so many shows on the EXP. If you're watching this on the Prana channels, you should definitely check out the EXP. What's up, buddy?
Not much. As of last week, I'm on almost no shows on the EXP, which is great. I get to do the FOC show, which is the show I like. And we've officially got some new content coming to replace all of the other times that I was talking at you, which makes everybody happy, including me.
Excellent. Clockwise from Kyle, we've got Joe Keating, Eisner, and was it Harvey Award winning? I don't remember how many awards you won for being an editor and writer and comics person. But anyway, hi, Joe.
Hello. How are you? Thank you for having me yet again.
You're always welcome. And once again, rotationally from there, we have Megan Marsden, the director of operations for Prana DM, the person who keeps the whole thing running and makes sure that I actually show up where I'm supposed to. Hey, Megan.
Hey, Adam.
You're calling from a hospital room, is that right?
No, just got back. So I'm calling from the not cool office. I'm calling from my dad's kitchen.
Congratulations. Excellent. All right. And we have Mr. Keith Davidson, who is our direct market specialist and has worked for every publisher in the industry that is not represented by me, Joe, or Megan. Hey, Keith. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing all right. Yeah.
Buddy.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. You know what? Let's go ahead and bring him in. I'm saying let's go ahead and bring him in. We have a special guest coming up later in the show. We're going to add him to the pre-show banter. Oh, it's my good buddy Filip Sablik from Ignition.
Hey, everyone.
Hey, man.
Hey, Bill.
Hey, I didn't want to miss the pre-show banter. I just wanted to come hang out, get a fly on the wall.
You should. So our goal here is with the pre-show is just to kind of give everybody a chance to kind of filter into the room. It also gives us a chance to talk through any of the stories that, didn't quite make the headlines that we're going to talk about later in the show. And we want to make it sure we have as much room for Filip to talk about Ignition as possible. So we're going to get all of that stuff out of the way. Filip, anything in particular? What are the highlights that you've seen around the industry that are not Ignition focused? What are you clocking right now?
Oh gosh. Well, we are a day away from launch, so I've been pretty in my own world, I have to admit. But I think probably the things that I'm clocking are definitely the industry jumping on board the blind bag.
Odd.
I don't know what you want to call it. Is it a phase? Is it a fad?
Yeah. You know what? I used a conversation you and I had when you first hired me on as the director of sales and marketing for Top Cow, and you said, this was like 15 years ago now or something along those lines. You said something along the lines of everybody's doing all these variant covers. It's got to be a bubble. It's gonna burst, and here we are, looking for new ways to do them a decade later.
Well, I don't know if you remember. I probably said this when we were working together at Top Cow as well, which is I have a strong belief that because our industry is so niche and operates on such thin margins, there is nothing that we will not find that works, that we will not beat to death, resurrect, beat to death again, resurrect. Like that horse has to be killed at least 3 times. And so I think on variant covers we've been around that cycle at least 2 or 3 times since you and I were working together.
Yeah, I think so. And I think I feel like blind bags are just yet another variation on that, right? Yeah.
And I think the other thing I've been thinking about is in the I will plug the Prana newsletter, what you wrote about this new generation of comic readers coming in. And I think you pointed out what was Dogman's 9 years old.
Yeah, that's right.
Dogman's
9 years old. Smile and what did you say? You actually had the
Smile, Diary of a Wimpy Kid, and then newer things. Oh, and even something like My Hero Academia. We're talking about over a decade old. So the kids that were first reading that, as we always talk about I think you and I talk about that nostalgia cycle, or that like kind of like reactivation is like whatever you fell in love with when you were like 8 to 12 years old, all of a sudden kind of like comes back and becomes important again in your like mid-20s, heading into your 30s. So I am genuinely, I thought it was an excellent observation. And everybody should subscribe to the Prana newsletter if you are not.
We are going to be talking about the newsletter 2 or 3 times today, but I did want to jump in and say I'm going to bring to the fore our very own Mr. BizDev, Mr. Sales Guy, Mr. Gabe Yoakum. How you doing, buddy?
Hey. It's nice to see y'all. I got a new webcam, so I didn't feel like my webcam was like 6 years old, so I'm like very crisp all of a sudden. It's very jarring.
Yeah, no, I feel you. I was trying to figure that out on my way in too. I got somebody who giving me shit for the. Did I say shit? Did I say it too early? I always forget.
7 minutes and 15 seconds. You're 45 seconds early, you schmo.
Sorry. Somebody was giving me a hassle about my webcam and how dirty it was getting, and so I was actually trying to figure out how to switch that out earlier today, and I haven't figured it out yet. This is my problem, is I'm not really tech savvy.
Is that the only one? That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it's not a bad issue. And let's go ahead and bring in my co-host. He's going to be Mr. Managed Comics, Mr. Brian Garside. How you doing, bud?
Good. How are you?
Speaking of webcams, you're adjusted up?
It's busy right now, guys. I don't know what's going on, but it seems to be busy. Life is busy. What's going on?
I don't know. I think we're all, we're making stuff. I know Joe and I are like on fire building something right now. Gabe is also with me on this, on fire. We're building something brand new that you guys know about. And we're going to be talking about here in 4 weeks, 5 weeks.
It's going to be fun.
Oof.
It's coming up.
And
quick.
Philip, you're like, you've got to be on fire. You got so many things going on right now. My goodness.
It's a little busy. It's the first time since 2014 that I've actually looked forward to New York Comic Con.
Well, you used to have to work it though. You had to stand for
like I didn't dread it, right? Yeah. I mean, it's just like, you have 500 clients. It's this time of year is the absolute worst time of year normally. And now we get to build something and present it and listen to people rave about how amazing we are, because believe me, you will.
I hope so. I'm also expecting it to go the other way too. Man, I can't wait till we can stop being cryptic about it. It's gonna be a good one.
As someone who spent the better part of a year being cryptic, enjoy it while it lasts.
That's true.
Because because pregnant with promise is a lot easier than going like, here's what it is. But also, I'm with you. There was a certain point I was like, I just want to say the thing, but I can't say the thing.
Well, you guys sold Redacted for a while, like to a point where it made me
arguably maybe oversold that one a little bit. If may have gotten that note from people on and outside of my team.
Is it called Redacted? Is that the thing? Is it? Yeah. Yeah, we're in our own redacted phase right this second, but it's looking forward to it. I think we're going to be talking about it at New York Comic Con. So, but yeah,
I can't wait.
Yeah, we are busily putting all the pieces together. All right, well, we've got about 4 more minutes before we do. I wanted to talk about. There were several things I wanted to talk about beforehand, but. I think specifically the one thing that we're not going to talk about in the show is this incredible resurgence of DC Comics into the comic shops.
Dude, yeah.
Is this like it's not strange really, but like we're starting to see parity at least on for the fan focus side, the things that they're pre-ordering. And all the stores are saying that between the compact line and the blind bags and all of that stuff, like the huge chunk of their sales are going out through DC now. Keith, you talk to stores every day. Are you seeing this too?
I haven't necessarily been talking about the DC aspect.
Yeah.
So apologies. I'm focusing on other things, but
that's true. You are being paid to pitch other stuff. It's a good cover. I'm glad you didn't feel like you're just gossiping.
It's interesting to me. I've had some thoughts on this actually. When I saw the charts the other day, all I could think is when I was 8 years old, it was Hulk Hogan and Superman for me, right?
Yeah.
I don't care about Superman anymore. And then I went and saw this movie and I went, maybe they actually figured this out. And I think maybe people are going into comic shops as a result and saying, I want to read more about this guy.
Well, I mean,
I was saying, I really like that James Gunn, for the announcement of the second Superman movie, included artwork by 3 of the top creators. He got Jim Lee, Jorge Jimenez, and Mitch Gerrits involved in saying, by the way, the movie's coming out in 2027. So tying it together is great.
What do you have, Brian?
So as my store, speaking as a store owner and not as the owner of Managed Comics, DC for one makes it super, super easy to buy bundles. So you can buy a bundle of 25. So I bought 150 Batman #1s for $25 a bundle, which is $1 a comic, right? So I just had to meet my minimum, which wasn't even that ridiculous. And then I bought 6 of those bundles, and I'm like selling them for $3.99 if you subscribe to #2 and on, because that will make me way more. So $3.99, it's $5.99 Canadian for #1. But this week on the FOC, DCKO, Absolute whatever #1, the absolute like villains crossover, and one other book, Batman #2, all had bundle options. So one of the reasons you're seeing so much product in store is like it's super easy for me to get Batman #1. It's super easy for me to get Batman #2. The cost is negligible. I'm gonna order heavy on those anyway, and now I have extras that I can do silly things like. With they did it for a series called Immortal Legend Batman, and I just put some in a bunch of bags. Just said, "Here, take this," because I will guarantee you those people will be back next month for it. And I gave them a free comic. It cost me $1. So yeah, like they're doing really, really good stuff with that. And there's just a buzz and excitement ever since the All In promotion. Was it All In or no? It's the DC. The one where they relaunched Superman like a couple of years ago.
I think it was All In. Oh no.
Was it All In? Yeah. Ever since then, they've got like a cohesive vision about what they want things to do, and everything has a similar look. There's very much a Dan Mora house style going on at DC right now, which I think is creating like cohesion. and just the books are actually entertaining and interesting. So they've kind of got it going on right now.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you guys for showing up for the pre-show banter.
Yeah.
Let's light this thing. What do you think?
Let's do it.
Kyle, let's hit the match. No, and hi, my name is Adam Freeman. This is Comic Industry Insiders Live, a weekly podcast live show. It's so many things in one, where we look at the highlights, the big headlines of the week, and we discuss what people who are working in comics are going to be dealing with. My partner in crime, the man who is really the reason this thing gets done every week, is our very own Mr. Brian Garside. Brian, how are you doing, buddy?
I stomped on Kyle's toes there. Good. Yeah, it's
Are we gonna have another one of those weeks where you're both pushing the button at the same time?
Dude, it's a Monday. It's another Monday.
Why do I even come to this thing?
I'm sorry, Kyle. I'm a control freak. Like, you can ask anybody who knows me. I am a control freak. This is what I do. I won't even let somebody drive a car with me because I'm such a control freak that I can't handle people being in charge of driving.
And I'm always been a good passenger. I just let people let it go let the world take me where it's going to go.
There you go.
This week we are talking about a great many things. We have our regular headline wrap up, but the thing that I'm really looking forward to, we actually have a special guest this week, don't we?
Yeah, that's so exciting.
No, good job on bringing this one in. Landing as a fish.
It's never me bringing somebody in. Yeah, I had the opportunity to work with Filip Sablik a little while ago, and we're going to have him today to talk about Ignition Press.
He is for me, he is one of the oldest friends in this industry. He's the person who gave me my first job in publishing, first real job. But yeah, he's a sweetheart, and I'm looking forward to having him on the show. So, how was the week been for you? How was you have so many balls in the air right now?
Yeah. Dude, I have never been busier than I am right now. I just did a 1-day comic show for Earth 519 on Sunday. Just a little one that's in like a town called Stratford, which is actually like the town I want to retire to. So it's the town I keep on like maintaining a foothold in.
Yeah.
And then on this coming weekend, we have a 2-day convention at the London Comic-Con. So it's kind of our big real coming out party. So yeah, prepping for a con, it turns out, is hard. And then on top of that, we're running a couple businesses that are, doing a lot of work right now and really busy. So yeah, it's good times.
Yeah, I have something similar. We were hinting at it. We're working with a number of different clients, all of which have big issues. I'm seeing it. There's a streaming issue on Facebook right now. We all have all of our clients seem to have big things going on right this second, and including some really major campaigns that we're going to talk about. But and like this super secret thing that we're not yet discussing.
And you've got a super secret. Like, yeah, that's huge.
I know, man. Oh, I can't wait to talk about that one. That was going to be a good one. All right. So I think, you know what, all the things that we're talking about, all the things that we're working on, we talk about them one particular place. It's here, but also every week on our website, which, by the way, we haven't really talked about. Brand new website. You should go check it out. It still has some tweaks. I'm still not ready to promote it yet, but it's mostly there.
Well, and the infrastructure is there for you to do massive updates and make it cool over time. So yeah, I'm really happy about what we did. Like, we did this in an afternoon last week.
It really was great. Cool. Yeah. If you go right now to pranadm.com, you're going to see what Brian can do in an afternoon, which I would spend a year on and never get close to. Pranadm.com, where you can sign up for our weekly newsletter called The Bullet, where we talk about we go into depth a little bit on all of the big stories of the week. We also talk about the look at that brand new site. This picture, I just don't know about this picture. But we talk about all the big highlights of the week. We talk about what the issues are. One of the things that Philip brought up was something that we discussed in last week's newsletter, is kind of one of the themes of what the world of comics looks like. So we talk about that every week. Please go sign up, and we'll get you the very next one this Friday. And it's the very last thing I do on a Friday. So sometimes it's a little later than I like, but it gets done. Every week it gets done. Megan won't let me leave until it gets done.
That's awesome. It's a great read too. And it really does catch you up. Like there's been a couple of weeks where that's the only touchstone with the industry I've had that week, because I've been so laser focused on the immediate problems and not, what's going on in the industry. So yeah,
that is our goal is really like, what are the things that are going to change what the comics industry looks like? And that's, I think a lot of ways, this is what we're talking about here, but that's what we talk about in the newsletter. But here we always find a couple of headlines that need some discussion, that need for us to tweak at. And I think that might be time for that. So
yeah, absolutely.
Where is that button? The hard hitting headlines button.
I'll get it. There you go. Oh, somebody else did it.
You know what? I'm going to go pack. You guys got it.
Nah, it's all right. We got it. We got you. Thank you, buddy.
As soon as Kyle steps away, I'm gonna mess up.
So this Diamond drama will not end. It just won't end. It won't end. So I'll tell you what. I actually went through, and we don't have a slide for this because I was just doing it right before, and I went through and just kind of made sort of a big, kind of a sweeping sort of understanding, 5 bullets, 5 things that are happening in this case. So this second, the Diamond bankruptcy hinges on whether the consigned inventory, so that's the inventory that the publishers gave to Diamond in order to sell to retailers, they would get paid based on what was sold, but it was owned by the publisher inside of their agreement. So that those consigned inventory belongs to the publishers, or does it belong to the estate? Sparkle Pop, the new owners of Diamond, are saying that that product was abandoned stock, and that increased the conversation. Let's just say it escalated the legal challenges, right?
Right.
There's a publisher coalition who jumps back in: Dark Horse, Dynamite, Titan, Oni, Vault, Black Mask, a bunch of other people. Formerly, they put together somebody they call in the consignment group and the ad hoc committee, so that they essentially had an industry-wide block challenging this and kind of pooling their resources to bring lawyers to battle to this, because God knows what this thing needs is more lawyers. So then all of this disputes on there's $1 million in sales, about $500,000 in costs that are tied to the consigned inventory. But the inventory itself is being held hostage, essentially, so that it cannot be released. All of that means that there's a bankruptcy challenges that have conversation. They essentially have to continually have these hearings on who owns this, and having the conversation back and forth between this, because Sparkle Pop wants to make sure they get their money out that they put in. And all of these publishers, including the ones that we're speaking to, are like incredible, like they could lose their businesses because of this.
Yeah.
It's incredibly bad. So what we're hearing this week is that now it's being extended. There's almost no way this gets resolved before the end of the year, which is insane to me.
The amount of lawyer money that's going into this, like every month, is just astronomical. It's insane. Yeah.
Millions and millions. There will be nothing left.
Yeah.
If you're a publisher who's tied to this, you just, I think I mentioned this on the show last week. We talked to a publisher that we're, possibly going to be bringing in under our Prana Publishers banner, who he's basically just given up. He's given up on ever getting this money back. He's given up on ever getting, now it's just trying to get that inventory. And I don't blame him. Fantagraphics is going out there and just basically saying, there's nothing we can do. So we might as well, please buy what we do have on hand so that we can keep paying payroll.
Yeah, for sure.
There's no answer. There's no answer here.
And so leading into that also, like, this is a bizarre story within the story that Ad Populum, and I defy somebody to find a Sparkle Pop logo because I don't think it exists. But Ad Populum and Diamond seem to be at each other as well.
Yeah. So there's all this conversation about the fact that, I mean, it's crazy that Ad Populum and Universal essentially that Alliance Entertainment was saying that Diamond colluded with these two people in order to make this sale, take the sale away from Alliance Entertainment. And now they're essentially saying, well, the Diamond's colluding with, I don't even really know who, but there does seem to be all of this conversation about who's talking behind the scenes and who is, withholding information. And I am not at all really surprised that it ends up just being this sort of he said, she said conversation back and forth. But like, it seems weird that you have that many lawyers involved and it ends up being that.
I know, right? It's so bizarre. So weird.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't know exactly where this is going to end, but I do feel sorry. I feel really bad for the publishers that are stuck in this because they're going to be struggling for the rest of, for years to try and get free.
It's going to take a while. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I can't imagine like just the burden that this has on you. Cause you've got, money that you basically have to write off and say that you're never going to see it. And some of these publishers are not, Marvel and DC. We're talking folks that a couple $100,000 is life or death. Even $50,000 is life or death would be for me. That would shut me down. So it sucks. It sucks. There's really nothing good to say about any of that.
No, there's really nothing. So, but I think that the beautiful part about this is that right this second, despite all of this madness, the stores are doing incredibly well.
So well, yeah. Absolutely.
I talked to yet another store with multiple decades of business where they've been building this store, decades and decades of experience. Said that they had a 40% increase over last year.
Yep.
40. Like that's you never hear that. So inside of all of that, you have this incredible opportunity. While these publishers are struggling, and I do wish them well, we do have rare opportunities for publishers that are coming up brand new and inside of the space because you have all of this sales and all of this interest that's happening in the stores. And I think that's me building a segue into our next section.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny because when I was sending out the first FOC for one of the titles we're going to talk about, I said to my customers, imagine if you could have gotten on the ground floor of IDW, Boom, and Oni Press. And it's like, this is the ground floor of something special. It's really cool stuff. And if you're interested in comic history at all, this is the kind of stuff that you should be reading. And we did a pretty decent number on the first issue that we're going to talk about that comes out on Tuesday. And should we just go ahead and
let's jump in? Let's jump into our friends at Ignition. Ignition Press is, this is a group of people that we all know and love inside of our little comics conclave. We're going to meet one of them. We also have Jeremy Haun, who's done an incredible job. Jamie Lee Jones. I guess did I did say Jamie? I did.
I don't know what you just said.
I got the wrong Jamie. God damn it.
Jamie S. Rich, I believe you.
Jamie S. Rich. How did I do that? That's embarrassing. Let's just intro our first guest, shall we?
Yeah, let's do it. It's your friend and mine, Filip Sablik. Look at how excited he is.
I love that graphic, so I wanted to be on brand.
Yeah.
So good to see you guys. Always fun to hang out and talk. So
absolutely.
Thanks for having me on. Appreciate you both.
It's true that we would totally do this without cameras, but it's nice to be able to use this in front of an audience as well, man.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, if it was without cameras, there'd probably be more whiskey involved, but
this is usually is. There really usually is.
So tell us a little bit about what gets us to this Wednesday, and a little behind the scenes story of how Ignition Press kind of came to be.
Yeah. So the origin of Ignition Press is that the four co-founders, myself, Jamie S. Rich, Jeremy Haun, and Eric Gitter, have in one way or another known each other for the better part of a quarter of a century. Like my relationship with Eric is probably the newest, and that's about 7-8 years old at this point. And like so many of us do that work behind the scenes, whether on the creative end or on the business end, you hang out at conventions and you have these conversations about things that you think are not working the way that they should. And most of the time, it's just commiseration and fetch about this thing's wrong and that thing's wrong and wish somebody would fix it. And Ignition was in part born out of the idea of, well, what if we tried to fix some of those things? What if we tried to address some of those issues that we see recurring over and over and over again? And to try to create, the other thing that we noticed was that the publishing model hadn't really been shifted in a big way in the North American publishing market for 30 years. Like I think that by and large, most independent publishers were kind of following the Dark Horse playbook, which is an excellent playbook. And there were other companies, obviously, in the mid 80s that kind of maybe originated that same model, but Dark Horse is the one left standing, right? So that's why I tend to use them as, and usually that model was a combination of original and licensed material, and it was very, purely direct market focused, and everything else was kind of like, added on. And a lot of the innovation we saw in the space over the last 5 years was kind of like solutions in search of a problem, as opposed to actually looking at like what are the things that are broken that need to be fixed. And so that was the challenge we put to ourselves, and we were fortunate in the sense that Eric, who is a very successful film and TV producer, was able to put together our financing and kind of came to us and said, "Okay, smart guys, I'm calling your bluff. You think you've got such great ideas, make it happen." And so that's what we've been trying to do for the last year and some months, is really build that foundation, build a plan and an approach that addresses some of those problems, and also builds a publisher that is taking into account the way that the market exists today. And when I say market, I mean markets, right? The way that markets exist, the sales tool that are available to us now that weren't available before, and the customers, the audience, like really trying to meet audiences where they are, because as you guys were talking about, in my lifetime, there's been no better time in terms of awareness and acceptance of comic books as a storytelling media, right? And I cite this again. I always caveat this with the fact that my children are growing up in Southern California, and so maybe this is not true everywhere in the world or everywhere, even in the U.S. or Canada. But my experience as a parent is that my children grew up with graphic novels in the classroom. From the time they were able to pick up a book and read, there was no stigma attached to it. Teachers and librarians encouraged it. That is wild, right? And at least for guys of our generation, right? And so it seemed to us that there is this incredible opportunity to broaden the audience while not necessarily turning your back on that core weekly audience that has kept this industry and this medium so resilient for the past 40, 50 plus years.
For sure. Yeah. I've been saying something along those lines for the last couple of years now, because I've seen, like, my son is in grade 12 now, but all through the public school years, kindergarten to grade 8, there were the scholastic book fairs, and every single kid at those things was buying Dogman and Catman and Captain Underpants and all. And then there was a whole line of like Marvel graphic novels as well. So they have been trained in the language of comics in a way that most of our generation never was. And there's a point where if you get to it and you haven't read comics, it's very hard to understand the language of comics. So having that in their DNA is a huge benefit. The problem is these kids get to high school and they're abandoned by the comics industry. There's no scholastic books fair in the high school, like grade 9s up in Canada. So there's a huge opportunity for that kind of a thing to happen at the high school level. And these are kids that are like hungry for it because they've grown up on it and they don't know that it can be where they are. So all of my son's friends have been getting into like absolutes and that kind of stuff because it's slightly dangerous, and it's, you know, it's the equivalent of the Alan Moore Swamp Things when we were growing up, and the, you know, the Vertigo stuff that started to come out as I was hitting high school. Like the slightly, I don't know if I should actually be reading this because I'm only 16 and it says I should be 18.
Yeah.
But
so
it's
I was
safe danger, right?
I got handed that by a buddy of mine in like middle school, and I was in the classroom with like the textbook open, and inside I had Vertigo books, Swamp Thing, and stuff like that, and I was like pouring through Watchmen, right? But Ryan, to that point, one of the like light bulb moments that I had early in my career is, and I have to credit John Shedleski, who used to be at Diamond Books years ago and was kind of the library outreach person. He was talking to me right about the time Smile debuted. And he said, Philip, do you know why I know that this is going to work? And I was like, tell me, John, like, tell me why this is going to work. And he said, because he said, in North America, after 9/11, we had the biggest baby boom since the baby boomer generation.
Mm-hmm.
And so just from a pure market size, market cap potential, there are just physically more human beings that right now are in their mid-20s than there were when we were coming into the business and selling to adults. So, and I think, you know, that is something that we don't think about, you know, like, you know, when we see, and we have seen the comics as a business, right? When you look at comics and graphic novels across all these different marketplaces, has been steadily growing for the past decade, right?
Yeah.
And not so steadily growing too. I mean, when you think about, we saw all collectibles take a huge leap during COVID, but many of them also saw a bottoming out. Whereas comics, we just saw a minor correction, and we've now surpassed those COVID numbers. So yeah, 100%. I'm sorry to derail what you're saying, but absolutely, I could see that. I wanted to talk more. I wanted to double tap something on you said earlier that was that you guys kind of got together and you were seeing problems in the industry that you like somebody should fix this. And I will say that, you know, Brian and I both have had this conversation where you say, you know, somebody really should do this, and you realize, oh, there's just not a whole lot of people left in the room that have the qualifications that the people in this room have. So talk about what some of those problems that Ignition was formed in order to at least address, right? I don't think you're going to be able to solve many of them on a one-to-one basis, but right.
Yeah. And I think I should also say, like, you know, it sounds horribly self-aggrandizing to say like, oh, I'm going to fix generations and decades.
We're here to fix comics.
Saving the
what's
industry.
that line that like there's nothing scarier than like the phrase, hi, I'm from the government, I'm here to help. You know, I think the way that I look at it, and this was a lesson I took from my time at Boom, is that while companies like Ignition and Boom 10 years ago don't have the market share position to like by themselves change something, where independent publishers can be really powerful and really impactful, is that they can act as proof of concept, you know. And so that's, I think we did that with returnability at Boom, and it created a shift. at the larger publishers because they saw how retail partners reacted to it, and it allowed that to kind of spread out. So a lot of what I talk about, I look at, okay, well, if we can do this and demonstrate it as proof of concept, then maybe it will have a larger halo effect and kind of a ripple effect through the industry. And look, we could spend the next 2 hours talking about the list that we came up with. So I'll just try to touch on a couple things. On the creator side, we looked at a core problem, which is, why is it in this industry that your choices as a creator are essentially to take the work for hire, kind of corporate gig that allows you to pay your mortgage and potentially have health insurance at some of the larger companies, and have a steady income, or pursue your passion project with a long list of expenses and sacrifices you have to make in order to make that happen. And so we looked to address that. We looked to address production schedules. We talked a lot about creators being afraid to reach out to their editor to let them know that they were sick. Adam, you and I both know creators that have worked from a hospital bed without ever telling their editor, out of fear of losing a gig, right?
100%. 100%.
And so we looked at those things and said, how do we address that? And the reality is for most independent publishers, it's a question of being properly capitalized and having a long enough runway to like, nobody's doing it out of malicious intent, right? So we looked to address that. For retail partners, we looked at things like, why are books being FOC'd before they're on sale? And ironically, we had a hiccup with our first one this week, which we could talk about and we're addressing. But which just goes to show you, it doesn't matter how experienced you are, you're going to miss things because we're all human, right? We looked at what is the right balance between variant covers and point of sales material? What is an appropriate amount of material when you're trying to build a new brand to share with your retail partners so that they can have the confidence to order? So those were just some of the things we touched on. There was, we looked at challenges with marketing and sales and how do we tackle those things. And it's all a work in progress. We're still at it. We haven't fixed anything yet.
What is taking you so long, Philip? What's the holdup, my friend?
Yeah.
Let's talk about the book that is in stores tomorrow. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
right. Yes, Murder
Podcast 1. Recognize me as a face. There we go.
I think we actually have this as a slide. Yeah, there we go. I didn't touch it.
That was me.
Yeah, so this is our launch title. It's Murder Podcast by Jeremy Haun and Mike Tisserand. Jeremy is one of my co-founders and the creative director at Ignition Press. And as he likes to say, he's also the guinea pig for all of our experiments. He is first out of the gate. So if you see him out in the wild and he has electrodes sticking out of him, that is normal. Don't touch them. We're still actively running tests.
You'll notice he's always wearing a hat. There's a reason.
Exactly. And I think this book is actually really reflective of kind of what we want to do, which is the big idea behind Murder Podcast is true crime is a massively popular genre in podcasting. Arguably, that and comedy are kind of the two dominant genres within podcasting. And in our series, there's a very popular kind of serial style podcast that has a great first season, and then it ends and it kind of like disappears. Nobody knows what happened. And all of a sudden, the first episode of the second season pops back up on everybody's feed, unannounced, unexpected. You hit play on your headphones, you start listening to it, and within 30 seconds, you kind of black out. And when you come to, you have murdered everybody around you in just the most brutal way, as the cover would indicate. And it is essentially a audio pandemic right? Of these people listening to the super popular podcast, and all of a sudden these, kind of murderous rampages start breaking out all over the world. And our story follows 5 besties who are all middle-aged ladies who are true crime obsessed, and they are the ones that are seeing the pattern and trying to figure out what's actually happening. There's kind of a supernatural horror element to it. And what I loved about this series when Jeremy told me about it in my living room, or actually in my kitchen, was 2 things. One, the high concept is like very straightforward. It's like true crime meets The Ring. So if you are somebody that's coming into a comic shop on Wednesday, it's like, yeah, horror, violence, like topical, feels cool. Let me check it out. But it's also the pitch that when Jeremy told me about it, my wife Danielle was in the kitchen, and she was like, Adam knows my wife is not a comic book
I was
reader.
going to ask what Danielle
And
thought of this.
she looked at it, she's like, I'd read that book.
Yeah.
And
in this book.
Yeah. And that is really one of our goals, is how do we expand the audience? How to, again, while still making material that is very much appealing to the existing audience, the endemic audience that's coming into comic shops every single week, how do we also bring in projects that appeal beyond that?
So talk about the process. It's been a while since you've you have this is your first time launching a company, really, right?
It is.
You've got Top Cow, you've got Boom in your resume. You worked at Diamond. Anybody who wants to know more about his resume and time, feel free to go back and look at the Comic Industry Insiders podcast, where we went to in very deep detail. What did you learn? Like, what are the things that you what surprised you in this process that you could not have expected?
I think the first is, and maybe this is just a function of getting older, is how quickly a year flies by. It's, however much time you think you have or you think you'll need, it's never enough. And I think the other thing that has been incredibly wonderful surprise is just how, you hope that when you spend, a couple decades in the business trying to treat people well and take care of them, that goodwill will be reciprocated, and it's been above and beyond. I mean, just the generosity and support that we've gotten from people within the industry, whether it's folks that I know or Jamie knows or Jeremy knows or Eric knows, has been really, really gratifying, and just lovely. It's nice.
That's excellent. And if you are there any, how do I ask this question? As you were going through, one of the things that we do both at Prana and in the show, and what Brian does, is like look at here, where are the weaknesses? Like, what are the things that the infrastructure that needs to be built in order to make this easier? And I think one of the things that really scared me about the Diamond bankruptcy was that companies like yours were going to have a hard time finding a footing. And they are right this second.
Yeah.
It's a really difficult time to essentially, there is no just turnkey, we're going to come out and be a publisher these days. It takes a whole lot more, plenty more hurdles to jump. What pieces would you, if you were the kind of person building that infrastructure, what are the pieces that are missing for launching a company like yours right now? Like, in case somebody who's listening or is in the room could build that for you, what would that look like?
Well, I would say 2 things. One, I want to acknowledge that because of my background and Jamie's background, we are in a very privileged position in terms of starting a new company.
True.
We had relationships and could have conversations that I think, someone that is kind of starting from the ground up, and coming into the space for the first time, trying to build a publisher is going to be hard pressed to replicate, right? In terms of I think what services or what structure needs to be built, I think a lot of the pieces are there. I think the thing that I immediately go to as a publisher, and this is just the way that I think, is like, what do I need to do to be ready to step in? And I think for, let's say prior to 2020, certainly Adam, when you and I came into the business, Brian, when you were coming into the business and had your store the first time, right? And that kind of era, the market was niche, but it was incredibly stable. And what that meant for publishers is that as you could really adopt kind of, if I build it, they will come mentality, as long as the content was pretty decent, there were, you could find your 2,000 true fans in the direct market without looking too hard. And Jamie, when we were starting this, told me this great story about, he was like, yeah, like when we were first building Oni, we knew that there were 2,000 people that would buy essentially anything we put out. So as long as we kept our costs under control and our overhead under control, we could kind of publish anything we wanted to until the end of time. Right.
Yeah.
And I think where we are now is because the marketplace is, fractured, and there's no kind of like, it's the same problem that like television has, right? You don't have 3 channels anymore. You don't have one distributor. You don't have one marketplace. You have all these different marketplaces and ways to get product to market. And so what that means as a publisher is you need an actual business plan. You need an actual strategy. You need marketing and sales. And Adam, you've talked about this a lot, and you need to know who your audience is and how you're going to reach them. And I think the era of publishers expecting their retail partners in the form of comic shops to do that for them is over. And that makes the job of a publisher harder, but I don't think it's inherently a negative. I think it means that coming out of that, we're going to have stronger publishers, and certainly stronger, independent publishers that are coming into the space now.
I mean, 100%. If you look at where we were, say 10 years ago, if Diamond had gone under, let's say 10 years ago, right? Let's say that Jeppy and Friends has completely mismanaged everything and they had to shut the doors. It'd be game over, right? There would have been no real comics industry for you to launch into. But now, maybe not 10 years ago, 15 years ago, easily. But
I would argue 5 years ago, Adam. Like honestly, 5 years ago, before Lunar and all that stuff happened, like first of all, nobody outside of Diamond had a handle on data and how it really worked, right? Like there were scattered people like Philip and Megan and some people who knew parts of the puzzle, but nobody had a soup to nuts idea of just that. And that goes for every single thing. So without Lunar and PRH existing, I think we'd be in a much, much worse state. And I think what happened to Diamond was inevitable. And we're fortunate that we had this 100%.
But as a result, like, you're about to launch. I'd love you to talk about your Kickstarter strategy, because I do think that there's a piece of this that many of the people I talk to inside of the comics industry don't quite understand. And I think it's the most interesting piece about what you're doing. But as a result of all of this, you end up with a multi-platformed thing that allows you to work direct to consumer. You're working through the book market. You're working through crowdfunding. You're working through all of those things that, any one of these pieces does well as a company, you're going to be okay. Right. And then 15 years ago, if comics retailers just didn't get it, if you didn't find those 2,000 true fans, that was it. You had to go find something else.
Well, even, it's funny, even coming into Boom 13 years ago, one of the first things I noticed was at the time, Boom's, revenue streams were basically 80% direct market and 20%, or maybe 15% book market and 5% digital. Right.
Yeah.
And I looked at that and I was like, you're bouncing a table on one leg.
Yeah.
Right. If that leg gets kicked out, you're done. And so I remember having those conversations with Ross about how do we diversify the revenue streams. And so from the beginning, one of the things I looked at was, how do we make sure, again, the goal is to meet the audience where they are, right? And because audiences today have no shortage of choice of entertainment, right? We all have streaming subscriptions. We all have access to the internet. We literally have content that we could scroll through endlessly until we die and never hit bottom, right? So the idea that, like, in my mind, the idea that you are going to be successful as a marketer and as a salesperson in convincing someone to go on a trek akin to like Sam and Frodo trying to get to Mount Doom for a $4 or $5 product that they've not even sampled is insane. And the fact that comic book marketers occasionally are successful in doing that, and again at Boom we were lucky enough to have done that with something like Berserker, like, and again, caveat, it's nice to have somebody in the single name club as your anchor point, right? But like the fact that Marvel and DC are able to do that on occasion is like calling lightning from the sky, and so what we looked at was, how do we take all these different sales channels and build a funnel that makes sense? And so our conclusion, I think this is what you were setting me up for, Adam, is we looked at what is the easiest way to get somebody into the funnel for the most part. And the answer was direct to consumer and digital, right? Digital tools allow you to target and advertise to people based on very specific locations, demographics, interests. You're meeting them where they are. And direct to consumer digital sales allows you to convert that person essentially with the click of a button where they already are. So then the next question became, how do you do that without cannibalizing your existing markets? How do you do that in a way that is additive to comic shops, to bookstores, to digital partners? And so what we came up with was these things called cold opens. And it is based on the idea of a cold open for a TV show or a movie. The thing I always point to is James Bond movies are, classic cold open, right? You get that scene with James Bond, you get introduced to the character. He has a very satisfying little vignette, usually an action sequence. It ends, you smash cut to the credits, and then the actual story starts, right? And so in that scene, you essentially are brought up to speed with everything you need to know, and it gives you a taste of the flavor of what you're going to be watching. And so these cold opens are essentially reimagined issue zeros for anybody that's, a store owner or comic geek listening in the audience. And if you're not, I don't know why you're watching the show. I'm amazed. If you are, please, I want to hear from you.
God bless you for doing it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Hi, Mom.
But,
yeah.
Hi, Mom. And so these are kind of reimagined issue zeros where there's a standalone story in here. We landed on, typically it's 12 pages, introduces you to the world, the high concept, what you're going to get. And then at the end of it, it kind of starts to pull you into like what a comic book is, right? So it explains what the cold open is, what its purpose is. It starts to, if you've never read a comic book, just starts to show you, hey, behind the scenes, look at all this work that goes into making one of these things, right? Isn't that cool? Gives you information on the creators, because we believe the creators are the brands. So we want to start building relationships between the audience and the creators. A sneak peek of the actual issue 1, what the covers look like. And then at the very end, all these cold opens have how to buy. And it's educational material to walk you through, how do you find a comic shop? How do you pre-order? And at the bottom, we have the release schedule for all the issues so that you know when these things are coming out. And so the idea is, and this is the thing we're building, but the idea is that these cold opens are available sometimes through a Kickstarter, like with Murder Podcast and Arcadia, which is up right now. And then sometimes it's through live events. So we debuted a couple of new cold opens at San Diego Comic-Con, because Comic-Con is obviously much more than just comic fans. And then at the store level, we make sure that, for the existing customers and walking in the stores, they've got ash cans that they can give away. So yeah, that's the plan.
Well, and I love the fact that you're using Kickstarter, which is a platform that many people just have started thinking of as the end product, right? They started thinking of that as this is once I've done this, I'm done. it's really just the first step in a chain for
Mhm.
you. And I think it shows what an inclusive marketing plan, getting back to your business plan idea, what an inclusive plan looks like right now, using all of the assets in front of you. I think it's incredibly smart. Can you talk about the success of this? Murder Podcast was your first, and you did successfully fund it.
Yep.
Talk about the success of this. It was, and Arcadia, which you now have running, even for Canadians.
Yeah, we don't discriminate. We love our brethren to the great white north. We got our books printed there. We got our websites built there. We love Canada.
We can't say that out
loud. Yeah, I think going back to Murder Podcast and kind of dovetailing to Arcadia, I have got a great relationship with Kickstarter. Obviously, at Boom, we did a lot of campaigns there, and so it felt natural. There's an audience that already exists there. There's a built-in kind of marketing engine when you do a campaign on Kickstarter, where for 30 days you're engaging with an audience. And really, our focus has been on the number of people we bring in. We intentionally built these campaigns to have very low points of entry. So both of these campaigns, for $5, you can get a digital edition of the Cold Open. For $10, you can get a physical edition. And these are all limited, right? The physical editions anyway. And so that first campaign, I think the way that I view it is we got north of 500 people to engage with a thing that is brand new, right? And when I go back and I look at, campaigns that I ran for Lumberjanes or Giant Days, which had sold, millions of copies and had a great installed user base, and we got, I think, 1,800 people to engage with those campaigns. And then you look at things like, kind of pre-branded campaigns will get, maybe a couple thousand, maybe up to like 4,000, 5,000 people that have, built-in audience in the millions. That was a great first proof of concept. And ultimately, our goal is to build on each of these campaigns, right? Build the outreach, build the size of the audience, because once we get them into the funnel, we're confident that the content and the way that we're going to build a community around these creators is going to keep them engaged.
I definitely believe that. I love the commitment to that. It's interesting that you mentioned Boom and the market share, their revenue, how it would all broken down, because I just finished interviewing Josh Hayes. I don't know if he's going to be in the next week, our next podcast, or the one after, but he said that now, as of today, they are closer to 40% direct market, 40% book market, 20% direct to consumer conventions, that sort of thing, which is a stable platform that they can build on, right? Yeah,
that's definitely the goal.
Here's a good question. Are the store ash cans different from the cold opens?
Yes, they are. So the ash cans are a preview of issue 1, because we assume that the customer in the comic shop is first of all familiar with comics, although we do in the ash cans still include how to buy. So if like you're a store owner and you take these out to a local festival or a farmer's market or a movie theater and you hand them out, there's a way to get people to come back in. But it's really ash cans are aimed much more for like somebody who's already part of the community in comic shops. And these typically we're putting out anywhere between 2 to 6 weeks before the first issue comes out. They're tied to incentives in the previous month, and I actually already have just commitment, just to show the level of commitment. These are 5 different ones we've already printed up and are in the process of distributing.
I love that.
I just got like 3 different ones this week in my PRH order.
Yeah,
right on.
Yeah.
Right on. I love that. Well, and that's what we're talking about, is those sorts of tools you were talking about. How do you break down incentives versus promotional materials, because all of them come out of the same budget, right? It's a zero-sum game in how to spend that money. So you're obviously making those choices as you go.
Yeah, our thought process on incentives was, we felt like most of the market was focused on incentivizing the retailers to order heavier, but then not providing them with any kind of support to actually move the product through. Thank you, Tommy, for that very kind note there. But yeah, for Murder Podcast, again, because it's a podcast that turns you into a murderer if you listen to it, we sent out, if you ordered, I think the earplugs were the 1 in 20, but we sent out packs of these branded earplugs so you can protect yourself from Dead Sounds, which is the Murder Podcast. And so just giving retailers tools, right? Whether it's evergreen posters or plastic shelf talkers or the ash cans or these kind of gift with purchase promo items that are like in world and tied specifically to the property, a way to actually move through the inventory they bring in. And then we support that with returnability on the first 3 issues, as well as doing this crazy thing called overprinting, so that there's inventory for retailers to reorder on week 1.
I think I have one last question, and Brian, I don't know if you've got anything, but when are we going to see our first blind bag out of Ignition? That's
well, actually, what's funny is we technically do have a blind bag, but it's not a blind bag pack. So Jeremy from Murder Podcast is doing this thing. First of all, he's not here because he's literally on a train from Portland to Los Angeles, and he is at the beginning of a 11-stop 6-week nationwide tour for Murder Podcast.
Dude.
Because he's a maniac and he's my little guinea pig.
That's exhausting. I'm exhausted just hearing about it. Yeah.
And the reason he's on a train, by the way, is he has found over the years that trains are great for writing. So it essentially, because the Wi-Fi is spotty, it means that he can knock out a bunch of scripts while he's on the train. And it's romantic, and he's a writer and a romantic. So Jeremy on this nationwide tour has a secret variant, which is only available from him. It is in a brown paper bag that's labeled. Yep, that's Jeremy showing that off. And the deal with the secret variant is it's 1 cover, but when you purchase it, you have to pledge you have to look Jeremy in the eye and say you will not share it online. And it's limited to 666 copies, and it is each one, he'll sign in person there, and it is really cool. And I cannot show it to you because I would then be breaking my promise.
That's amazing
to Jeremy.
That's wonderful, awesome.
For San Diego, he also did blood splattered variants where he literally.
I should note that both the Kickstarter campaign we offered blood splattered editions, but for the secret variant, there are 66 randomly intermixed blood splattered editions that you won't know until you buy it. And so we're trying to do things for fans and for collectors that are fun and authentic. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention on the back of our books, we have unique serial numbers on every copy.
That's really cool.
They are randomized, and our theory is that it rewards long-term collecting, right? Because today, copy 001 of Murder Podcast number 1 isn't worth any more or less than copy 5,000 now. 5 years from now, 10 years from now, maybe a different story.
What about when I have to go and find the number 66 for all? Oh, you've just created a monster, Philip.
Yeah. No, we've talked about that. Was the first thing that our collector, like our friends in the collector community, pointed out, was that they were like, "Oh, you've essentially minted comic books, which means that people are going to be looking for their number. They're going to be looking for 66. They're going to be looking for 13. If anybody is wondering, I've decided my number is 1215 because my birthday is December 15th. So if anybody pulls 1215, I will buy it from you on any Ignition title. And they are completely random. Like, me and the staff don't know what copy we're going to get. So it's always kind of fun when we get our advances to look to see who got the lowest number.
That's wonderful. You know what? If you don't mind, I was gonna do that. We're just gonna transition into our closing out the ads, but I wanted to do. We have one in particular that I wanted to bring up real quick. Brian, do you think you can skip ahead to the TFI Kickstarter. We have in 5 minutes, we're going live with our second The Future Is Kickstarter. This is our hardcover. We did a hardcover version of volume 1, which went out to Kickstarter people, but the issue 1 was a softcover, went into stores. Volume 2 is going live in 5 minutes. And the first tier, you can bring that up again.
Yeah, I'm trying
to. The first tier of this book is $25 to get the PDF of all of the origin stories together, and including this, because we're working with hackers, they have this very specific SHA-256 verification, so that you're not going to download a virus when you download the PDF. But it's $25 to get that. That $25 is we're going to spend at your local comic shop for you. So anybody who spends $25 on this which means the first $25 of everybody who purchases on this Kickstarter campaign is going to their local comic shop, one way or the other.
That's awesome.
I had to brag in front of my mentor here.
That's awesome. And this is my favorite thing about, the way that the industry works is everybody is, learning from each other and pushing each other and innovating, and that's a great idea, Adam. I can't wait to see, first of all, what the reaction is. Second of all, like pulling that off, I'm sure is it's like telling the artist, and then draw the army charging over the hip, and then you actually have to draw the army charging over the hip, right?
When I was asking Keith Davidson earlier if he heard anything about DC Comics, and he's like, my head's pretty much down. It's because of this. His head is down.
For sure.
So Jeremy, yes, to answer your question, if one of our customers ends up buying, anything from the Kickstarter and they mark Titan Comics as their local comic shop, we're going to give you, Titan Comics, $25 to buy a gift certificate for them to spend at your store.
Dang it. Sweet.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to this one. This one's been working on for a little while. All right. Last call. Where do people find Murder Podcast? Where do people find the Kickstarter? How should they be thinking about Ignition?
So if anybody isn't already, I recommend going to ignitionpress.com, built by the amazing Brian. There is a place to sign up to be an Ignition Insider. That's for our newsletter. We promise not to spam you. It is the best place to get information that comes out weekly. Murder Podcast you can find starting tomorrow, Wednesday, September 10th, at awesome comic shops worldwide. Arcadia is live on Kickstarter right now. That's the cold open, and you can order that, and you will get a copy of the cold open before the first issue ships. And also for my retail partners in the chat, if you are not already receiving our direct newsletter, PRH, their sales team does an amazing job sending information out, but email us at retailpartners@ignitionpress.com and we will get you added to our mailing list. We like to include additional bits of information in that. And what else? Last but not least, because it's coming up next week, the amazing Leah Williams and David Baldione are debuting Voyeur. This is a steamy heist series. Think 9.5 weeks meets Ocean's 11 set at the White Lotus. It is steamy and sexy as hell. You will want to have some iced tea while you are reading this comic.
Thank you, Philip. This has been always a joy to see you. And, I almost don't miss the whiskey.
Next time we'll do After Dark. We'll do an After Dark.
I like it. Yes, we're gonna have to do an After Dark, and we'll talk about for the spicy book talk folks.
For the spicy book talk folks, 100%. This is for the ripped bodice crowd for sure.
Awesome, buddy. Thank you so much for jumping in,
guys. Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate you both and what you do.
Oh,
thank you.
All right. See, I didn't. Somebody removed him, and then I brought him back.
You pushed it too? Oh man,
I did. Well, I felt like I feel bad that you have to do it all. Let's talk about the things that we want to promote on our way out, since we are already running late.
Do it
right this second. If you are a comic shop, FOC coming up for The Last Spartan Red Tape, a graphic novel that was done by our friends at Main Entertainment, Tyler Main and Renee Gerlings. Renee, actually, somebody that worked with both Philip and I back at Top Cow days, did this incredible sort of crime noir book that's set around human trafficking inside of biker gangs. It's really, Christopher Priest wrote this one. It's really fantastic, and you should be pre-ordering it. Oh yeah, look at that!
It's September 22nd. That's
September
Canadian 22nd. Prices, so I'm sorry, it's $29.99 for Freedom units.
In Freedom units, it's actually much better. The future is we're about to launch now. Actually, it should be live right this second. The future is first our first Kickstarter, our second Kickstarter is up. First Kickstarter was so successful in getting people activated into stores. This time we're literally sending them into stores to spend part of the money that they're spending on Kickstarter. So I'm not saying stores should promote it and say, hey, you should pick me, but every time you do, you're going to make $25. So that's not nothing. We could all use a little extra $25. And then we have nice link in the chat. Thank you for pulling that up. What else? What else do we have?
You are also
Book of Jusco is tearing it up on Kickstarter, and yes, we are working with Desperado to get this into comic shops after. Joe Pruitt has done incredible work on the Desperado books over the years, and right now we have a Kickstarter that I think we're going to hit 100K this week. It's incredible because unlike other Joe Jusco campaigns that have been on Kickstarter and elsewhere, Joe is participating in this one. So every time the money is spent there, it goes to the artist. So please do reach out. And there are some really great retailer tiers. And if any retailers in the room are interested, please reach out to us and let us know, because we'll jump you ahead of the line. Where are we at? Oh my goodness.
These are in Canadian units. Don't freak out. It's 100,000 in Freedom units.
I mean, just my percentage alone, I'm Canadian rich. That's
yeah, exactly.
It's impressive.
Yeah, it's a great and these books are amazing. I think I've talked about them a couple times. The Desperado books, like I've got a couple of them behind me. I love them. As soon as I heard that, I was like, oh yeah, we got to get in on this one too.
And based on the success of this, Pruitt is going to be redoing and doing new ones. So he's been really, man, there's no guy who needs the support more than Joe Pruitt. He's done incredible work for comics, and I am so excited to see him using this platform to like regrow that whole brand. He has done incredible work, and I'm so excited for his success.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to throw a little pimp out. So September 11th at 3 p.m. Eastern time, that is 12 p.m. Pacific time, we are doing a live stream for Managed Comics. That's in 2 days. I should probably write a slide. We're going to talk about multi-location and what that looks like. So we added that to Managed Comics for Shopify. We also have a new system called Managed Comics Oryx. And I'm going to preview our customer-facing tools that will be available very soon. So that's kind of the big surprise that I've been keeping secret.
Yep.
And when we get this thing done, I think it's a bit of a game changer.
Super. You think it'll save comics? Are you going to save comics there, Brian, with this one?
I think I'm trying, Adam. I'm trying. I'm doing everything I can to save comics. I will either save comics or die trying.
I believe that, actually. I think we're both going to go down with that particular ship. And finally, we talked about this earlier on. We're going to keep pushing it until you subscribe. The Prana Bullet, this is something we do every week. Every Friday, we go through and pull what we think are the most important stories that are happening inside of comics that essentially will affect your business inside of comics. And we reduce them down to one really scannable, if you want to go into a deep dive, you can, bullet that will land in your inbox every Friday. Just as soon as I finish writing it, and Megan won't let me leave my desk until I'm done. So thank you for that.
Amazing. Awesome. Thank you to everybody who stuck with us today. Thank you to Blake for going above and beyond just knocking it out of the park with the slides at the last minute. I'm
going to tell you right now, everything we talked about today that was Prana facing, Blake had a piece on and was legitimately pulling things together at the last second.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Blake,
yeah.
Go subscribe to Blake's Buzz and watch him every Wednesday night, because that dude really deserves all of the support that we can get him. In fact, if anybody wants to drop that link in the chat, we'd absolutely would see that too.
Speaking of, Tommy mentioned that he doesn't normally promote his own stuff, but he's talking about Murder Podcast on their Tuesday night YouTube show at 7. So make sure you check that out. And we'd be remiss to not say, like, subscribe, hit the smash button.
Yeah, if you hit the alert button will remind you when we go live. So
absolutely, yeah.
Awesome.
If you go over to Manage Comics right now and alert, then you'll know when I'm live on Thursday too.
That's right.
To add to the plugs, if you go back a couple weeks, we had the writer of Voyeur from Ignition Press on the FOC show over on The Experience.
There you go.
So like it all works out. It's all a big circle.
We're all in it for comics, man. We're all doing it. Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming in and listening to us ramble about comics for an hour every Tuesday, especially while you're putting things together, making your shop ready for the fans. I want to thank you if you're a fan. I want to thank you for showing up every week and keeping this whole engine running, because once again, Brian and I are not very good at doing much else. And finally, we've already said it, but special thanks to Blake Morgan, man. You killed it today. So
absolutely. Thank you to everybody who had a part in this episode. Thank you, Philip. Thank you, Adam, as always. And
good luck, Jeremy, because that train ride, that's a big one. All right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Namaste, y'all.
Namaste.